up? Good mic work. Back at you. TLC 2015 is in the books. What did you think? I gotta say, I definitely think this pay-per-view was 10 times better than Survivor Series. Not a perfect pay-per-view by any means. This pay-per-view, I think, had equal parts of me marking out and equal parts of me throwing up. But still, I think they gave us enough positive things to where I don't feel like I need to shit on this pay-per-view. And it was relatively predictable. As a matter of fact, my predictions were dead on. I predicted every single match correctly, even predicted some of the finishes correctly. But despite all of that predictability, the show gave me enough where I didn't completely hate it. We're going to get into all of it here, match by match, as usual. For those of you browsing through YouTube, looking for people doing TLC reaction videos and stumbling across me for the first time, please subscribe to my channel. You will definitely like what you hear. You can also hear this episode on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. You can download this episode on my website, GoodMicWorkCommentaries.com. And if you end up sitting through the whole thing and enjoying what you hear, give that like button a click. And just as a reminder, if you want to send me a question for any future Q&As or my year-end video coming up in just a few weeks, please send all questions to goodmicwork@gmail.com. I will have my year-end commentary, which will be a 2015 year-end review and a larger-than-normal fan Q&A, and I hope for the entire commentary to be about 2 hours-ish long. Now let's get right into TLC here and start talking about these results. I'm going to do things a little bit different this time. Normally when I do my reaction videos, I start right with the main event and kind of work backwards. This time, I'm going to start with the beginning, which would be the pre-show match. Now, I mentioned earlier that all my predictions were correct. They were. Every match that I predicted, I got right. However, there were 2 matches that were not announced yet when I did my prediction video. One of those matches was Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. I definitely would have picked Sasha. You're just going to have to take my word for it on that. And she did end up beating Becky Lynch with some help from Team Bad. And at the end, I think maybe it was at the end or the beginning, I can't remember, but they actually sang like a Christmas song in the ring. All 3 of them were singing. It was horrible. One of the worst things I'd ever seen. And I thought to myself, oh shit, this is going to be one crappy pay-per-view. Incidentally, a lot of people were experiencing a lot of WWE Network issues, as was I. My issues only lasted during the pre-show. From what I could tell from the Twitter feed, it looked like people were experiencing trouble throughout the entire pay-per-view. With me, it was just, I couldn't get anything to come on the screen. 3 computers, 2 Apple TVs, and my phone. I could not get anything to come up on the screen during the first 20 or 30 minutes of the pre-show, and it finally came on and started working right in time for the Divas match. After that, I didn't have any issues at all. No buffering problems, no interruptions, no nothing. So my stream was flawless right after they fixed whatever issues they had. But I think I was one of the lucky ones because some other people had a lot of trouble throughout this thing, and I'm sure it was very frustrating. Now, I mentioned how awful the singing was with Team Bad and how that really put me in a bad mood for this pay-per-view, and I was like, oh, crap. It's going to be a repeat of Survivor Series. Boy, did my attitude change quick because the 6-man ladder match, the 3-team ladder match they had for the tag team titles was unbelievable. It even had kind of a slow start. There was one sequence of moves on the outside of the ring with the Usos and the ladder and them diving off on people. It was very slow, very choreographed, very timed. I didn't like the way it looked. And then things just got 10 times better almost immediately after that. And I gotta talk about the spot. What the fuck was that? I wasn't even sure who the 2 guys were because I can't tell the difference between the Lucha Dragons or the Usos. I had to ask you guys on Twitter. Apparently it was Kalisto and Jey Uso, and they're up there on the top of the ladder in the middle of the ring, and Kalisto hits him with the Salida del Sol, is that what it's called, and flips him over backwards, and they both come crashing through another ladder that is bridged between the big ladder and the ring rope, and they slam right through it. A crazy-looking spot, and executed absolutely flawlessly. One of those guys could have gotten hurt so badly, and the way they pulled that off, you would have thought they practiced that shit for an hour and a half in the arena that day. I thought they were both dead, and that's definitely a candidate for Spot of the Year. I don't know if they have that category at the Slammies or whatever the fuck, but if they don't, they should make it one. If this was the Attitude Era, that definitely would have been the kaboom of the week. Big E bench pressing the ladder from underneath with the guy on top was also a really cool spot. There was lots of awesome stuff in this match. Xavier Woods got off easy. He got to do commentary the whole time and didn't even have to do his hair. This was basically a night off for him, and let me ask you, does he get the same payoff as everybody else? That's how you get some heat right there. That was a brutal match, and I'm glad everybody came out of that unscathed. It sounds like, doesn't sound like anyway, anyone was seriously injured in that, at least from the early reports, and I hope it stays that way. New Day, by the way, as predicted, did retain the tag team titles. I really didn't see any reason for the Usos or the Lucha Dragons to win the belts in this type of match, in this environment, in a three-way, considering how over the New Day is, and there hasn't been a lot of build. This was a match kind of thrown together because all the tag teams are just thrown together all the time. They really don't have any concrete storylines ever for any of these guys, so I didn't think a title change here would be a very good idea. And I'm glad that New Day retained. Now, as exciting as that match was, they followed it up with Ryback versus Rusev. This was a match I guess must have been announced on SmackDown. They did have a funny video package leading up to it that showed Rusev and Lana and how in love they are, and how Rusev is Lana's Bulgarian sunshine and all of that. Pretty funny shit, but at the end of the day, the match wasn't going to be very much because, these are two beefy, strong guys, and not that I'm against that style of wrestling. I actually like to see that from time to time, but coming off of a match where it's going to take the fans 30 minutes just to catch their breath, this was going to be a really tough match to watch, and it was, and luckily, Rusev won. He was able to make Ryback pass out in the Accolade submission and wins the match, so good for Rusev. Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger, I believe, were up next. This match was for the United States title. Now, the split between Del Rio and Zeb Coulter seems like it is complete. After Del Rio got pissed off and yelled at him last Monday night on Raw, it looks like the two of them are officially done, and like I said before, I don't know why they were together to begin with. But as expected, and as I was hoping he would, Del Rio did retain the United States title. The finish, he hit him with that corner stomp on top of the chairs. Even looked like he might have hurt his leg a little bit. I hope Del Rio is okay. Not a really big fan of that finish. I really like the move because, if you can hit it spontaneously, I think it's awesome. The crowd can pop, and it's a type of move that I think only should be performed sometimes, because the problem with it is there's too much setup involved. If this is a guy's finisher, you would think that the opponents would scout this move and make sure that they're not in a position where they're hanging on the rope, just waiting for the guy to stomp their chest. So I think this is the type of move where you only use it when you're in this situation. If you're both on the top rope trying to do a suplex or something, and one guy falls and get his legs caught up and he's trying to get out of it, and that's when you jump down and stomp his chest. This is not a move I don't believe that should be used as a finisher, because it just takes way too long to set it up. It's a spontaneous type of move, something that Alberto Del Rio should do every now and then, but not all the time and in every single fucking match. In another predictable match, the Wyatts absolutely destroyed the ECW crew. The Dudley Boys teamed up, of course, with Tommy Dreamer and Rhino to take on all four members of the Wyatt family in a tables elimination match. Eric Rowan was the only member of the Wyatt family to be eliminated. The other three guys pretty much dominated, the Dudleys and Tommy Dreamer and Rhino, and they even teased a flaming table. Bubba got out some lighter fluid, sprayed it all over the table, and gets the lighter out, and just as he's about to light it, he gets kicked by Luke Harper, and then Braun Strowman runs in and grabs him and power bombs him through the table to end the match, and Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Braun Strowman all survive. So Eric Rowan is definitely the weak link in the Wyatt family, clearly, but I kind of wish he would have survived. I wanted to see the Wyatt family just tear through these guys. Dudley Boys' return and run so far, I got to say, is a little bit disappointing. Now, I'm all for, the older guys coming back and putting over the younger guys. I have no problem with these guys losing or anything like that, but, the Dudley Boys, as over as they were back in the day, back when the WWE had their tag team division shit together, these guys are coming back now in 2015 where, tag team wrestling is not that important, it doesn't seem like, to the WWE creative team, and the Dudley Boys just, it's almost fallen flat. You kind of thought they were going to come right in and get their hands on the New Day and end up beating them for the titles, but they weren't able to. New Day is 100 times more over than the Dudley Boys are right now, and it's kind of sad to see. I was hoping to see the Dudley Boys get one more run, and that's not to say that they're not going to get that. They might still get it. They seem to enjoy their time there and enjoy what they're doing, helping out the younger guys, but at the same time, I was hoping they'd have a little bit of a run on top before they started jobbing out. Here's a match where I surprisingly think I'm one of the only people to predict this match correctly. A lot of people said they didn't see Dean Ambrose winning the Intercontinental title coming. I did, because here's the way I looked at it. TLC had to have at least one title change, and I didn't see any of the other belts changing hands. I saw no way Del Rio was going to lose it, no way Charlotte was going to lose it, and of course no way Sheamus or New Day were going to lose it either. So something had to change. They had to give us something on this pay-per-view to give fans a reason to tune into the next one, obviously. So I thought Owens might have been the right guy to drop it because he's facing Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose is a babyface that's over. The fans like him. He's not really had a big major pay-per-view pay-per-view victory for a title in a long, long time. I think this is a victory that he needed and that would not hurt Owens if he lost. And I was hoping maybe Owens would drop the belt and maybe possibly be moved up a rung on the main roster because, WWE's got a shit ton of injuries right now, and Kevin Owens can be another one of those good solid heels because Sheamus obviously is not cutting the mustard, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I thought if Owens dropped that belt, once he wraps up business with Dean Ambrose, he can move on to maybe something a little bit bigger. So that's what I'm holding out hope for, and that's why I don't care about him dropping the belt to Dean Ambrose. And on top of that, we all like Dean, and we're happy for him, and I'm glad he won the Intercontinental title. And congrats, new champ. Another title match is up next, this one for the Divas title. Champion Charlotte taking on Paige. Now, Charlotte, all of a sudden, overnight, is a heel. She's hanging out with her dad, playing dirty tricks, being an asshole, being cocky, and all of that. And I gotta say, this was done so horribly. Now, don't misunderstand me. I actually am on board with Charlotte being a heel. I actually think she can be a really good heel, and if you ask me, she can probably be a better heel than a babyface. I wasn't a fan of that crying, humbled type of babyface girl that she was being when she first won the belt. I mean, her dad is Ric Flair. If they wanna play off that she is the daughter of arguably the greatest professional wrestler ever, she should try to mimic some of his attitude and his character. And I think it's really cool that they're doing that with her because she is very athletic, and when she comes out to the ring and she does her cartwheel and she shows off and she styles and profiles, if you will, I think she can be really good in this character, and I think it can develop and evolve. My problem is that they did this literally overnight. To me, this should have been a gradual build. If she was to go from Charlotte, the babyface Divas champion, and morph slowly into Charlotte with an attitude, the nature girl, styling and profiling and being cocky and cheating to win and all of that, I think that would be better for her character instead of just waking up one day and deciding that everything that I've showed the fans on TV so far, that's not me. I'm a completely new person starting now. And to me, that's not the way you change a character. You do something that builds up to that, not just do it overnight. So really, that's my only criticism of the Charlotte heel turn, or if you could call it that, is that they just did it too quick. But her hanging out with Ric Flair and having Flair out there, being with his daughter and the two of them, and him, passing down all of these great dirty tricks and, and teaching her and helping her along the way, and she can try to emulate him and be the female version of Ric Flair. She even did the classic flop spot, where Rick kind of stands in the middle of the ring, just stands there and falls flat on his face. She did that spot in her match with Paige tonight. So I think I can definitely get behind Charlotte being a heel and being the female version of her father. I'm completely on board with that. I just wish the WWE went about changing her a little bit. She wins, by the way, with help from her dad. Between the two of them, they get the turnbuckle pad off of the middle rope and expose the steel. Charlotte is able to ram Paige's head into that steel and get the pin for the victory, and she wins with shenanigans just like we knew she would. Wow, is it main event time already? I guess so. All right, here we go. TLC match for the WWE title. Champion Sheamus taking on challenger Roman Reigns. I predicted that Sheamus would retain the belt with help from his League of Nations cohorts, and a lot of fans predicted the exact same thing, and all of us were right. The match itself was not that bad. I don't think any of us are really a fan of Sheamus, but the match in the ring was okay. The fans were nuts. The fans were chanting for John Cena. Actually, the fans were chanting for a lot of people. They chanted for John Cena. They chanted for CM Punk. They chanted for Seth Rollins. But I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, wow, WWE, I don't care if you promised somebody the title or not. Did you really have to follow through with that promise? Did you not know that Sheamus wasn't going to be over? People are chanting other people's names during his matches, and that goes for Roman Reigns too. Now, Roman, I'm a fan of. I actually think Roman is very good, and I wish the fans would get off his back because the WWE clearly is not pushing him. I mean, they're pushing him, and they always want to make him look strong, and that definitely was never more apparent than the end of the match after he lost, when he completely beat the shit out of Triple H right in front of Stephanie McMahon. Multiple spears, multiple chair shots, put him through a table. I could even hear him in the ring saying, hit me again with the chair or whatever, telling Roman to really do a number on him. And you got to wonder if this is setting up a WrestleMania match between Roman Reigns and Triple H. And if that's the case, does that mean Roman Reigns is out of the title picture? And this kind of mirrors sort of what they did with Daniel Bryan just a couple of years ago, how the Authority would keep Daniel Bryan down. And this is really the same thing, except in this case where the fans wanted Daniel Bryan to defeat the Authority and end up winning the WWE title. I don't think they want that for Roman Reigns. But, they're doing the same thing with him. Remember back when Daniel Bryan was having these title matches? This would have been pre-WrestleMania 30. Remember that fall and all the pay-per-views beforehand when he was getting title match after title match and he was falling short and he was getting fucked over by the Authority or outside interference? And all of the fans were losing their minds. They are never watching WWE again. They're never going to watch Monday Night Raw. I don't think the WWE Network was around then, but if it was, I'm sure they would threaten to cancel it. Everybody was getting so pissed off, and the Authority had legitimate heat because they kept screwing over Daniel Bryan. Just when you thought he was going to win the title, they fucked with you again, and the fans were getting legitimately pissed off. And I was the one that was the voice of reason back then, saying just relax because, it might pay off in the future. And I was even referencing, hey, WrestleMania 30, you never know. You got to hold out hope that they do the right thing, and maybe all of this is just a build to put the belt on Daniel Bryan and give him the grand moment and him finally overcoming all these odds on the grandest stage of them all. So I was the one that was trying to calm everybody down and talk him off the ledge. Now we see essentially the same exact thing happening with Roman Reigns, but the fans don't see it the same way. The Authority is holding him down. Roman Reigns has won the belt just like Daniel Bryan did at SummerSlam. He won it for 5 seconds, and then Randy Orton came out and cashed in, much like Sheamus came and cashed in on Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. Now he's got another title match where there's a bunch of outside interference, and Roman Reigns, of course, snaps after the match, starts going apeshit on everybody with a chair, beating the hell out of Alberto Del Rio and Rusev and everyone else. And where was Wade Barrett? Did you notice that? When the League of Nations ran out there to help Sheamus, we saw no Wade Barrett, so what the fuck was he doing? In the back having a cookie? Triple H and Stephanie end up having to run out there to calm Roman Reigns down, and you knew he was going to fuck Triple H up because he already beat him up once before after Survivor Series. And so Triple H is in the ring trying to get the referees to back off and trying to calm down Roman Reigns like an idiot. Triple H turns his back and allows Roman Reigns to hit him with the Superman punch, and then it was on. Chair shot after chair shot, a hell of a beatdown on Triple H, ends up trying to give him some sort of a powerbomb move through the table or the announce table on the outside of the ring. The table did not break. Roman ended up getting on the other table and jumping on top of him with an elbow drop or something to finally break the table. But Triple H was basically left there and was going to be carried out by doctors. As soon as he kind of gets back to his feet, Roman Reigns is in the aisleway, about 30 or 40 yards away from Triple H, and just sprints right towards him and nails him with a spear on the outside of the ring, and the crowd popped hard. I'm not sure if this necessarily means Roman Reigns is over now. I don't think, I'm not going to go that far, but this definitely helped, and the crowd really enjoyed what they saw. They saw a vicious Roman Reigns. They saw a pissed off Roman Reigns. I was hoping he'd cut a promo. It reminded me of when Brett snapped on Monday Night Raw after he lost the cage match to Sid, and he pushed down Vince McMahon, and he's swearing and he's cursing on live TV. I would have loved to see Roman Reigns grab the mic and just go off on someone. But he went off on Triple H physically, which was good enough because it was a pretty enjoyable beatdown to watch. The fans were into it, and it was probably the loudest the fans were all night, with the exception of that opening match. And it's another example of why the fuck is Sheamus the WWE champion? He's clearly not the main event. The main event is Roman Reigns. So he had his match with Sheamus. Sheamus beats him and he gets out of there. And the whole storyline between Triple H and Roman Reigns goes down. Roman Reigns, like I said in my predictions video, was going to lose this match, but he was still going to look, what's the word? Strong. And he looked very strong because after the match, he beat the shit out of all three guys. And then he beat the shit out of Triple H after that. So he basically annihilated everybody and now moves on to do what? So obviously this issue with him and Triple H is going to continue. You got to think on Monday Night Raw, they're going to do something to where they're going to threaten to fire or fine Roman Reigns. Wouldn't even be surprised if they sent him home, kayfabe, for a while and had him sit at home for a couple of weeks with the suspension, and then he somehow wiggles his way back in. He's obviously going to have to fight very, very hard now for a spot in the Royal Rumble, and that's on the way, and I don't want to talk about the Royal Rumble yet, but we did get our first commercial for the Royal Rumble during TLC, and wow, we just came off two shitty ones. Are they really going to do it again? Even though Roman Reigns put a few smiles on the fans' faces tonight, I still don't think any of them want to see him win win the Royal Rumble again. I mean, last year I said WWE would never be stupid enough to repeat what they did with Batista, and they did it anyway. So now I'm saying it again. Certainly the WWE is not foolish enough to do it 3 years in a row. So if they do something else fucked in the Royal Rumble, and they give us another winner that nobody wants to see, I don't know if myself or the rest of the wrestling fans can handle it. Now, if they wanted to surprise us, I mean, Daniel Bryan, he's in the news a little bit. A lot of people aren't sure if his career is going to continue, if he's going to continue to wrestle, if he's ever going to be able to get back in the ring. There was a rumor that he was offered an NXT coaching gig while they figure out what to do with him. Maybe he's secretly cleared to wrestle and the WWE wants to bring him back, but they're saving him as a nice, we're sorry to all of the WWE fans for our previous 2 years fuck-ups, and we're going to have Daniel Bryan win the Royal Rumble. I would love to see Daniel Bryan just be a surprise entrant. Nobody knows he's coming back. No vignettes, no promos, no announcements, no nothing. Keep it as quiet as possible and have him come out there as number 28 or 29, have the roof come off of that fucking place, and have him win the Royal Rumble and give the fans orgasms. I would love that to be my best case scenario. My worst case scenario is that Roman Reigns is going to have to battle on television throughout the next 8 weeks to get a spot in the Royal Rumble. The deck is going to be heavily stacked against him, and the Authority is going to throw him one obstacle after another, but eventually he will wind up overcoming those obstacles and winning the Royal Rumble. Then he's going to go on to WrestleMania to challenge for the title. Or he stays away from the WWE title picture completely, and Brock Lesnar comes back and gets involved in that, and Roman Reigns continues his feud with Triple H. Now, it's December. WrestleMania is still a ways off. Can they go this long? Can they build this long between the two of them to finally have these guys face each other at WrestleMania? Is that the match you want to have? You know, I want Triple H. I have no problem with Triple H having a match at WrestleMania. I hope it's a high-profile one, but I don't know if I want to see Reigns and Triple H. A lot of the fans probably do, because if they do, that means that Roman Reigns is going to be out of the world title picture. That also means that John Cena might be in it, and you don't want that either. So we all got to hope that Brock Lesnar comes back and does something about this situation with Sheamus. You know, Brock could come back full-blown babyface and just beat the bejesus out of Sheamus and just take that title right off of him. I would love to see him come back and just challenge for it and win without any bullshit. So I got to say, I'm not too sure how the WrestleMania card is going to be shaping up. I thought maybe Roman Reigns versus John Cena might be a good match. I thought Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, a rematch at WrestleMania, might be a good match for the show. But it looks like they're probably going to go with Reigns and Triple H, unless they do this at the Rumble, which they could. Maybe that could be the match. You know, think about that. What if it's Triple H versus Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble? If Roman Reigns beats Triple H, he gets a spot in the Royal Rumble. They could go in that direction, much like they did with Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. You know, it sort of looks like they might save this one for WrestleMania, which means the world title situation is wide open. John Cena, I'm guessing when he returns, he'll jump right back into a match with Alberto Del Rio, because you know he's going to want to get his victory back, right? And he's probably going to want to get his belt back too. So I'm hoping John Cena will be U.S. champion going into WrestleMania. I would love to see a John Cena U.S. Open Challenge at WrestleMania. Think about the name that they could bring in. Who knows who it could be? It could be Kurt Angle or something like that. So I would have no problem at all if they put the U.S. title back on John Cena and then he dropped it to a returning star at WrestleMania in an open challenge. That would be pretty cool. Lots and lots of time left to talk about WrestleMania. We got to get through the Royal Rumble first and start speculating about that. I'm going to get out of here now. I'll be watching Monday Night Raw tomorrow. I should be up live tweeting during the show. As far as when a review will come up, it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday, most likely Wednesday at the latest. So keep a lookout for my Monday Night Raw review in a couple of days. Let me know what you thought of TLC, the good, the bad, the ugly, your thoughts, your predictions for Royal Rumble, and maybe the card for WrestleMania, and any ideas or storyline directions you think the WWE might be headed in. Let me know what you think. I will catch you guys in a few days. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, peace.